and we are back here at Driftwoods Action Park with another Toyota and another Ford.
But this time it's a pair of mid-size pickups with us. With me to my right is the new kid on the block. This is the 4x4 Ranger Wildtrak.
And meanwhile, I have the veteran of this group, which is the Toyota Hilux, but this time in GR-S form. What we want to find out is how does the grizzled vet fare against the new kid on the block, and just how far forward have pickups come. And because we're at Driftwoods, you know that these trucks are gonna get very dusty on these dirt patches, and we're gonna take them off-road a little bit further down the road. So let's get the show on the road.
This is Jason.
And I'm Anton.
And this is the big test. I have whiskers jumping out.
So first up is acceleration, and these two are actually pretty evenly matched. Both have over 200 horsepower, although the Ford has a twin turbo and a 10-speed transmission, and this has a larger capacity engine, a single turbo, and a 6-speed. Now, if you were able to watch our last big test, the Fortuner threw up a bit of a surprise by being quicker off the line. So we're curious if it's going to be the same case for the Hilux and the Ranger. This is a little bit lighter, and the transmission is a little bit more responsive compared to Ford's 10-speeder. Right, so let's torque the engine and let's hit 60 on dirt. Alright, so that felt like a good run. I'm pretty confident with the Hilux, but at the same time, I'm not discounting the performance of the Ranger.
Okay, shift it in drive and brake down. Okay, so I have no idea what time I did yet. I guess we'll put it somewhere on the screen. But again, I feel like it wasn't nearly as fast as the Hilux. As the old saying goes, what goes up must come down. Or in this case, whatever lurches forward eventually has to come to a full stop. We're going to find out how well these two pickups fare in the stopping power department.
Right, so for braking, well, Jason does have a bit of an advantage over me because interestingly, the Ranger Wildtrak 4x4 comes with rear disc brakes. Now back then, it was only the Raptor that got rear discs, but this time around, it's even the standard Wildtrak. Meanwhile, here in the Hilux GR-S, it relies on good old drums. We'll see how it goes. So, get to 60, and when we get to 60, use the brake marker, hit the anchor. So, let's see how the Hilux does. Right, so that's the anchors of the Hilux, and you're able to stop right just before the other coconut tree, so it's a pretty strong benchmark for the Ford to try and beat.
Okay, so Anton was able to brake before he reached the second tree over there. Now I honestly think the Ranger is going to do a lot better. It's got full disc brakes, and I just think driving wise overall it's the superior pickup, so we're going to find out right now. Okay, so consider me mistaken. We have gone past the second tree and almost out of that gate in front. I'm surprised we're not at the main road. Turns out the brakes aren't as great as I thought they were.
Power is nothing without control, so this next bit is going to be about handling and ride. And to do that, we're gonna take these trucks around a dirt track to see how they cope with loose surfaces, and we're gonna judge points for handling. And at the same time, since it's a bit of a rutty surface, we're gonna measure comfort as well from the front seat and from the back seat. And of course, we're also gonna try each other's trucks out to see which spine gets more bruised at the end of this test. And now for the round that I think I will lose quite badly, which is ride and handling in the case of the GR-S Hilux. And
Ow!
and
we're off.
We're barely doing 10 kilometers per hour, and my passenger at the back, Jason, is already complaining. So Jason, at less than 10 kilometers per hour, how are things?
Okay, so what you guys need to know, especially in pickups, actually pickups in particular, is that the suspension, especially in the back, is tuned to have cargo in it. So when you have a load in the back, it's actually supposed to get better. Right now we don't have any cargo in the back, so it's actually at its worst. And like Anton said, we're going just at about 10, maybe 15 if we're being generous. And yeah, it's not comfy back here.
Even here at the front, you do feel the harshness, and I'm having to shift my body around a little bit because I'm getting knocked around. I'm getting thrown around here.
It's not fun back here. Ow!
But yeah, this is already one of the more comfortable, if not the most comfortable Hiluxes to be ever rolled out of production, because you have to remember that the GR Hilux does get GR dampers for it. So it's a little bit tuned, it's a little bit more forgiving.
Okay, to Anton's point, perhaps this is the most comfortable Hilux that has ever graced mankind. That said, Hiluxes have long had a reputation for being robust, dependable, but not exactly the most comfortable. So, as comfortable as this is for a Hilux, this experience is not all that surprising.
We're literally doing 20 Ks per, and okay, here's the thing about the Hilux, okay? It can take the punishment. You can just do whatever with it, and you know, whatever punishment you dish out in it, it's gonna take it like a champ. It's not gonna care. However, how much punishment can your back take if you're taking this off-road?
I am this close to jumping out.
Okay, I think it's
Ow.
already pretty conclusive, so I think we should switch seats. I think it's only fair that I go to the back. Guys, tap out na, tap out na. I don't think we need to test this any longer. Right, so Jason and I made the switch. So Jason is now in charge of the helm of this Hilux GR-S. Meanwhile, you can already see me being thrown around the back of the Hilux GR-S. Jason, how about you? Are you gonna agree with me on a couple of things with the Hilux? So first of all, the steering quite heavy.
Yes. Santon mentioned the steering is heavy. I have driven Hiluxes from the past, and to be honest, the steering does not feel like an evolution, but rather a remnant of generations past. Granted, there are some plus sides here. It does provide a fair bit more feedback than the Ranger does. The Ranger is notorious for its feather-light steering, which some complain can be a little too light. So if you like that old school steering experience where, you know, power steering and all that, this takes the cake. Anton, how's it back there?
I grew up in the back of a first-gen Fortuner. That's still more comfortable. The first-gen Fortuner is still more comfortable than that. And for those who also grew up in the back of one of those, you'll know exactly what I mean. From what I'm experiencing right now, okay, if I had the misfortune of ending up at the back seat of one of these, I am willing to spend the extra money to buy the GR-S over the Conquest just to make it a little bit more bearable at the back here. And speaking of stuff at the back here, you don't even get a charging port nor AC vents at the back here. So on a hot summer's day like right now, I am sweating while Jason is actually pretty cool right at the front. So when it comes to ride and handling, well, we haven't taken a look at we haven't taken a look at the Ranger yet, but judging how Ford tunes their chassis, even in the Everest, I hate to call a winner right away, Jason, but we all know what's gonna happen next, right?
And we're back. Oh my god, this feels so much better. We're now inside the Ranger Wildtrak, and while you do see me rocking to and fro, I'm not feeling it nearly as much as I was in the Hilux. This is what a modern pickup in 2023 should feel like. It's amazing in here. Some downsides, of course, as I mentioned, the steering there was much stiffer. This one is the other extreme. It's possibly too light. Basically just steer with one finger, as I'm doing now. Very electric sort of feel. I don't know how much hardcore off-roaders would appreciate that. In a setting where you want that feedback, you want that harshness, you want those reminders of the terrain underneath you. And another drawback here is that was with my foot buried. The low-end response leaves a little bit to be desired, but comfort-wise, it's no contest. This takes the cake. Anton, how's it back there?
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Jason, because not only is it softer back here, but also the seat cushions, they're softer. They're actually better padded in here compared to the Toyota. And yes, I'm being thrown out and about and side to side, but this is totally fine. I mean, I feel like I just jumped from basically a pogo stick into a crossover. That's the right difference between the Hilux GR-S and the Ford Ranger Wildtrak. And not only that, okay, I have AC vents back here, and I also have 2 USB ports and even a 400 watt plug-in charger right round here at the back. Jason's right, this is what a modern pickup truck should feel like. And yes, I understand some people want that old school truck feel. For them, we might get cancelled with this term, pero mas nakakalalaki. Like, no, I feel manlier, everything should feel stiffer and harder to control and whatnot. You can dish out the punishment in the Ranger too. But at the same time, it's not gonna torture you while you're doing whatever with it on or off the road. That's the thing about Fords lately, no?
To add to Anton's point about the seats being well padded, like the Hilux, these side bolsters here, they're very sporty, they kind of hug into you, but in this case they're a little bit more forgiving, at least for my frame. That might be part of the reason why driving the Hilux feels a lot more uncomfortable. It's because their side bolsters really keep you firmly in place, and that's good from a racing standpoint, but from a daily driving comfort standpoint, these more forgiving side bolsters are definitely preferable.
All right, and we have switched, and well, from my vantage point at least, it all feels very familiar, having driven the Everest already. And right away, yes, the steering is absolutely devoid of feel, but you know what? I'm a little more confident driving it on loose surfaces. When it comes to handling, yeah, this switches direction a little bit better. Yes, they're on different tires, but the Ranger it's just that bit more cooperative on loose surfaces. And right now, sitting here at the front, well, the rides are, whew. I mean, seriously, it's a bigger difference than night and day. That's how huge of a leap it is.
Yeah, I don't have much to add back here. It's just better in every possible way. Like Anton said, seats are better padded, the ride comfort's just on a different level. I'm still rocking to and fro, of course, we are off-road, but I'm not complaining. So yeah, thumbs up from me.
Like, we don't even have to finish the course anymore to choose a winner for ride and handling. So Jason, do the honors for me.
Winner goes to Ranger.
Absolutely.
Next, we're going to test how well these pickups climb things. More specifically, their hill ascent and descent capabilities. Now, both of these pickups have hill descent control, so we're going to find out which brand offers the superior technology as well.
So we're going to start off with the Hilux, and to activate the hill descent control in the Hilux, you have to go to four-wheel drive low, and then activate the hill descent control button right below the air conditioning controls, or what Toyota calls downhill assist control. Basically, you don't have to step on the brake pedal, the car will slow down for you. And for us to find out which one has the better hill descent control system, it's the one that'll get down this hill slower. So the slower the speed on this one, the better actually. So right, it's the Hilux first. We roll off the brake. Feel it already. So it's keeping us steady at 5 kilometers per hour. So that's actually pretty good. And that's kind of how hill descent control systems should work. Now, it may sound boring, but trust me, when you're in a pretty slippery embankment or a muddy hill or any of that, you're gonna need something like this and you're gonna appreciate something like this. So 5 kilometers per hour for the Hilux. So let's go for the Ascent this time around. So we're gonna see how much revs the Hilux needs in something as steep as this. So again, yes, it is on pavement, but this is sort of to see which engine is that bit more flexible, has that more low-end grunt. So in this case, the lower the revs, the better. So let's go with the Hilux first. So we have Hill Start Assist. I can just let go of the brake pedal, so I'm gonna roll back. And we're rolling just barely under 1500 revs. Well, that's sort of the advantage of a large capacity engine. So it doesn't need to rev as high compared to a lower capacity engine. So we're curious to see how the Ranger fares in this sort of thing.
All right, time to test out the hill descent capabilities, more specifically hill descent control. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna shift to neutral, shift for low, which apparently you need in order for the hill descent control to work. And then from there, we're gonna toggle the setting on. Now that we have that, we're gonna shift to drive, and I'm gonna completely let off, and we're gonna see how slow it takes us down this descent. So here I go. And there it is, activates on. Okay, my foot's not on the brake. It's just hovering in case we need to step in. You can see it's being very, very cautious with this. Of course, this feature is there for safety. And with that, we've made it down to the bottom. Now we're gonna test how well the Ranger climbs up an incline. Let's find out what this thing's capable of. I'm gonna throttle the pedal gently and we're gonna see what's what. Okay, that actually required more revs than I thought. Well, not so bad. Pretty easy stuff.
Of course, we wouldn't miss out testing the beds of these pickups, so we're gonna take a look at it. We're gonna mention how big these beds are as well as the payload capacity.
So instead of going for a more weight-based approach, as some people would want to do, we decided to go for a more visual, space-based approach. We're gonna find out exactly how many monoblock chairs we can fit comfortably here in the beds to give you guys an idea of just how much space these two pickups have.
So we're gonna kick things off with the Ranger, and all right, so let's start chucking some chairs in. All right. So, a couple of observations. Well, there's less sort of wheel arch intrusion in the Ranger compared to the Hilux. Yeah, so this thing is what Ford calls a tub step. So that's to get into the bed a whole lot easier. So some of us would step onto the spoke of a tire or right onto the tire itself to be able to hop onto the bed. So Ford kind of made that job a little bit easier.
Okay. So here we come into the wheel arch intrusion, which is a normal part of any bed, but here it's fairly minimal. You do have to adjust the chairs like so. We didn't adjust it on this side, but here we had to adjust it. And that is about it. That is 9 chairs.
So yeah, a couple of things also. There's still a fair bit of allowance here.
Yeah.
In general, the Ranger's bed is wider and a bit longer than the Hilux's. Another thing I did notice though, and I have to give points to the Ford for this, these auxiliaries. So Jason, please do explain those.
Yes, if you have electrical gadgets, especially if you're out camping, doing something outdoors, off-roading, anything like that, you have the option of plugging in your electrical devices here in the back.
Okay, it's a really more flexible bed compared to the Toyota. And this, I mean, just looking at it, you already kind of know it's wider. So at least, you know, it's not, it doesn't just look wide, it actually is pretty spacious back here.
Yeah, actually, I just realized if we fold it up, and if we're a little creative, you can actually probably fit one or two more in there. So we'll call it an even 9.5 chairs out of whatever for this. That's our score.
Right, so it's now time for the Hilux, and first thing you'll notice, Jason, the
wheel arch intrusions here are a little higher, but they seem to be a little shorter. From what I'm seeing here, the wheel actually starts a little further up in the frame, so the intrusion is maybe a little higher, maybe a little deeper in, but it's not quite as long, as visually at least, as that on the Ranger. And these sides here also seem to be a bit higher. We'll see how that factors into the space just a bit, because it does have these protrusions here along the side that kind of eat up into the space a bit.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So,
right, let's find out.
Start stacking. All right, got it.
There is no step along the side here, so getting in and out is a lot more difficult. Okay, so right away, seems a little narrower as well.
Yeah, it's definitely narrower, right?
So I'm gonna...
Right in that area, it's a bit narrower.
Like I said, these intrusions eat into the space. So I'll put it sideways, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, again, this has to go sideways.
And there you go.
That's about it. That's about all we can fit here in the back.
The fact that we actually had to make adjustments for that, whereas in the Ranger, we just let it face that way.
Yeah. So it's a little bit narrower, and as I mentioned again, these protrusions here really do eat up into the space.
The sports bar kind of just ate up the room, actually.
Yeah.
The height as well. But even if you take away the sports bar for both pickups, it's really the bed width that the Ranger has the Hilux beat.
Yeah.
And there's also less sort of allowance.
Yeah,
right
there's
after
not
this
much
bed.
room here. There's no room here for a half chair, actually. It's pretty much...
It's all pushed in.
Yeah.
And no chargers, no plugs or whatever.
No conveniences, just tie downs. You know, you could argue more robust, less electronic parts, but less conveniences, less space.
So for the bed, Jason?
I think the Ranger takes it.
Yeah, I agree. Right, so we literally spent the whole day driving these trucks, throwing dirt at them.
Getting dirty in them.
The first thing we did was acceleration. The Hilux did it 0 to 60 on dirt, 4.5 seconds.
This did it in 4.7, which is actually much quicker than I gave it credit for. Granted, the Hilux is still faster, but it's still pretty impressive. I honestly thought because of the smaller displacement engine, the turbo lag, this would do it a lot slower, but not bad, not bad.
Yeah, and this one, the way it just punches off the line, it just, yeah, so there's that. And it feels faster because it is faster just by a few tenths, but this does feel faster. Right, so next test is braking. And yeah, that was the Hilux too, wasn't it?
Yes, this did not brake as well as I thought it would. This has full discs, but the more we did the test, the more it felt like the discs were, you know, getting worse and worse, and that's probably because of all the debris and the buildup that were, you know, getting in the disc. Obviously, here in the rear drums, you don't have that problem, so this was a bit more consistent, and it provided more stopping power in that test.
And the way this thing just threw out the anchors, you're literally gonna headbutt the dashboard, really.
Yeah.
Right, and now for ride and handling.
Boom!
Yeah, okay, no arguments there. Even I'm gonna agree. Like, you would have to be the biggest Toyota fanboy or fangirl to say that this rides better than that.
Because there's just no way. This is comfier, and it handles better. When we were power sliding in the dirt responsibly, I might add very responsibly, despite its featherlight steering, which gets a bit of flack for lack of feedback and all that, it's much more responsive. Here, to get this to slide and to countersteer, you really have to throw your weight behind it. Here, you just have to turn the wheel, featherlight, and it responds just fine.
Okay, you can also argue that, yeah, okay, you can, some people just want to work for it a little bit harder, but again, going back to the daily practicalities and etc., you have to give it to the Ranger. Like, you can justify it any way you want if you're a Toyota fan, but yeah, we both felt it, and we suggest you guys try it out. It's really a night and day difference.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so next test we did was hill descent and descent.
So hill descent and
Hill
descent.
ascent and descent, sorry.
Okay, so each car has their sort of own advantage. Now this one, because it has a larger capacity engine, needed less revs going uphill. However, the hill descent on this one, while good, is nowhere near as good as the one in the Ranger.
The hill descent control on the Ranger is so good that it's boring. I did not go past 4 kilometers an hour going downhill. I didn't have my foot anywhere near the brake. It went a lot slower than I wanted to, but it just goes to show how superior the technology is.
Kind of shows you like it knows where to put the brake pressure and etc., which is kind of weird because in braking performance this did better. But yeah, I mean, this is still good. It still slowed it down to 5 kilometers per hour, but this did it at 2.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to give a point each to these cars because, okay, credit where it's due. Right, and the last one is
Pick up space, the bed, to be
bed,
specific. We did our very scientific, very well thought of chair test, but just to give you guys a visual representation of how much space these pickups offer, and this was able to fit 9.5 chairs. More importantly, we didn't have to think very hard about how to fit the chairs. The space is a little more accommodating. There is a bit of wheel well intrusion, but it's not so bad. The opening is a lot more generous. It's just better all around. What about this one?
right. It's no denying its age. It's narrower, smaller, it's more wheel well intrusion, and it just fits less stuff. Right, and we're still not done. We have our final test, which is value for money.
1,910,000. This goes for.
Mine is 2,057,000 pesos. And okay, I know we didn't put it in our test parameters, but the interior features of this thing is almost the same as you'll get in a Hilux G. You only get one USB port. You don't get rear AC vents. You do get power windows, all automatic up, down on all sides. You don't get that on the Ranger, but
this gets a touchscreen this big. You can draw on it. You can draw, you know, perfectly PG things on it. It's this big. So
yeah, but
that's got this going for it.
it really showed its age.
Yeah.
Like in terms of infotainment, technology, touchscreen, clarity, screen clarity. And yeah, let's throw in Siga. The way it drives, the way it rides, the way the interior is packaged, the bed size, etc. So,
I think for value, we got to give it to the Ranger, right?
yeah, I mean, okay, comment section is gonna say, oh, bayaran kayo ng Ford, mga ganyan. But okay, guys, if you're gonna think about it logically, okay, the Ford just want more
Yeah, tests.
tests compared to the Toyota.
For less money.
For less money, exactly. So we're gonna have to give the value definitely for the
Now,
Ranger.
I hear you guys, there is that X factor, the one that, you know, is the boogeyman in the room, the elephant in the room, so to speak, reliability. And we all know that the Japanese brand has the superior reputation. I know you guys troll your Facebook groups and all that. This would win in any testimonial about reliability. So I do have to give it that. It does have that going for it, but most other things aside, the Ranger is the superior product.
Yep. All right, folks. So the winner for this big test is the Ford Ranger, but the Toyota Hilux still is definitely in our hearts. So this has been Anton,
This has been Jason,
and
this has been
the
the big test.